America is one of the loneliest countries on the planet. New studies show we're in the middle of a loneliness epidemic, and 61% of young adults today experience serious loneliness. Not to mention that depression rates among youth are also at some of their all-time highs. But what's actually causing this loneliness? Many people point to cell phones, personality trends, and cultural attitudes as the primary culprits of this problem. And there is some validity to these claims. But what if the core problem is digital or cultural? What if I told you the real issue is a built environment that directly limits people's opportunity for social interaction? The way we've designed our communities in America is kindling social isolation. So how do we currently design our communities in America, you may ask? Well, since the 1950s, most cities and towns in the United States have utilized a model called conventional suburban development, more casually referred to as urban sprawl by haters like myself. But here are the three main markers of CSD. Number 1, spread out, low-density neighborhoods. So this is where developers built singular homes on large lots of land meant exclusively for single families with large distances between neighbors. These neighborhoods typically have no central gathering point and have dead ends like cul-de-sacs. They also are completely separated from local amenities by miles and miles of road. This clearly causes loneliness because you're physically further from people and you have no means of natural interaction with your community, and you have to go to a very specific location just to see people. These communities also don't typically have any type of shared identity because the emphasis is on individuality and personal land autonomy as opposed to social cohesion. Number 2 is single-use zoning. So this is where the land use is legally divided into strict categories. You have your homes in one area, stores in another, work offices in another, etc. And there's really no mixing allowed. You want to grab a quick coffee with a friend? Too bad, you'll need to drive 15 minutes into the commercial district. Need to grab some mozzarella to try a homemade artisanal pizza recipe? Sorry, that'll be a 20-minute drive into the grocery district. This is clearly an influence on loneliness because residents are forced to live bifurcated lives where they travel from necessary destination to necessary destination with no real incentive or natural opportunity to be involved in their communities. Lastly, number 3, and the most obvious, is car dependency. So in these communities, you really have to drive absolutely everywhere. So this is why the CSD model is often called the auto-centric development model, because all of life revolves around the car. This creates a very sad production loop of, I need a car because everything is so spread out, and let's build things spread out because you can just get there by car. We travel from parking lot to parking lot surrounded by cars instead of people. You go to your job alone, to sit in traffic alone, to be back at home alone, and you have very little spontaneous interaction. And any given day that you're not doing a necessary task, you may not encounter people at all. These little interactions are what psychologists call weak ties and are actually crucial to our mental health and well-being. And it's much harder to build meaningful, lasting relationships without these happenstance interactions. If you don't have a car in these places, you literally don't have a life. And this is unfortunately happening for demographics that notoriously can't drive, such as children, disabled adults, and the elderly, who all continue to see increases in loneliness. Then what is the correct way to build places to combat loneliness? Answer: build walkable neighborhoods. Places that prioritize people over cars and naturally encourage personal interaction by design. Places that promote greater community involvement and social cohesion. Places that allow people the freedom to travel by whatever means of transportation they deem fit, and where homes are built near where people need to actually go. Places like pre-1950s America. America hasn't always been what we see today, and cars weren't always a symbol of freedom like billions of dollars in marketing has collectively conditioned us to believe. A challenge for those of us with living grandparents or great-grandparents who lived before the 1950s is to ask them what their communities were like when they grew up. They'll probably describe to you something that looks like this. Or this. Or this. Or this. Or this. Pre-urban sprawl communities and neighborhoods were denser and had mixed uses. Homes, shops, schools, churches, parks were all within a short walk from one another. Public transit like streetcars connected downtown areas had strong frequency and were heavily utilized. Much of the old American charm that is so often glamorized today really comes from these communities that thrived on social cohesion. Kids walked to school and biked to parks to play. Grandparents could operate with more independence alongside friends. Adults worked close to where they lived and had a vested interest in their community. However, most of these communities were literally bulldozed to make room for car centricity. And areas today that have either upheld this design or replicated it are some of the most expensive communities in the country because of how much demand there is to live this way. Also, some of the happiest countries in the world are places where they still develop in this manner. And with new technology and lessons from our mistakes, it's time we return to our roots. This is the foundation upon which America was built. and this very model of development can act as a remedy for the social isolation prevalent in modern life. Your loneliness might not be you, it might be your surroundings. Subscribe to learn more about how we can solve this epidemic together.